In the beginning, there was no sound, only the void. And God said, "Let there be sound."
Mr. Watson, come here. I want to see you.
And the voice of man rang out, and voiceover was born. And God said, "It is good." Talkin' Voiceovers with Rick Sellers and Wes McCraw. The big podcast where we talk all things voiceover. And now, Rick Sellers and Wes McCraw.
Today, our very special guest is voice actor Frank Todaro, born in New York City and now LA-based. Frank is currently probably best known as the voice of Mugman on the Cuphead Show, streaming on Netflix. It is a terrific animated series, and we'll talk to Frank about that and so much more, including voicing the characters of Drulak and Starscream from the Transformers franchise. Please welcome Frank Todaro.
Hey, there we go.
Frank, how you doing?
Yeah, doing all right. How are you guys?
Great. Very good. Well, Frank, welcome to Talkin' Voiceovers, Season 3, Episode 10. You are the final episode of Season 3. And
pulling up the rear. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we saved the best for last. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, because you're a terrific talent and all that good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about your voiceover career. You're born in New York, correct?
Yes, I am. Yeah, Flushing, Queens. Right on.
Very good. And then you moved out to L.A. When did you move out to L.A.?
Not too long ago. We drove across country, moving here in 2017.
Okay.
And then, hung out for a year or two, and then the world just stopped for a few years. So,
the whole COVID thing was... Wow. Well, hopefully you guys don't have the mask mandate put back in place before too long, because that would suck.
Well, I mean, I got a face for radio anyway, so it kind of makes sense.
I don't know. You're pretty handsome there, Frank.
Hey, you got a cool look going.
Yeah.
I like your rings, by the way. You had on. I saw on the rings.
Do you have a dragon ring?
I do, yeah.
Let's see the dragon.
I'm too indecisive for a tattoo, so whenever something happens, it's meaningful, I add more on until it breaks. And then when it breaks,
I have no tats, and
I don't either.
I'm a musician. You would think I would have sleeves, but I don't.
We must be the only 3 adult white males that do not have tattoos, so that's kind of interesting.
Like, I feel like on paper, like if someone described me and probably described you, we should be covered in tattoos.
Yeah, exactly. You'd think we'd have big ones. But
yeah. Exactly. Oh, well. Dragons, and maybe phrases in Elvish or something.
I like the ring route that you went. That covers it.
Very cool. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about the voiceover career. How did you get started? When did you know you wanted to be a voice talent? Were you a little kid watching cartoons and figured out, I want to do that? That's fun.
Can I just say yes? Pretty
well,
much
we need you to elaborate a little bit.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I mean, I guess the first thing, the best answer is I'm an only child and I talk to myself a lot.
Okay.
But the real answer, the several real answers, I guess. One thing that, I think when I first realized, like, oh, this is a thing. People talk on radios and audiobooks and stuff. Well, my first book, pardon my rambling here. My first book ever is actually behind me on the shelf. It was one of those see and read books, the records that came with the books.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, see and hear. Of The Hobbit, of the Rankin Bass Hobbit, which is very special to me, right? So I remember like listening to all these voices and stuff and that, and I was like playing it over and over again. And then, time went on and I had one of those tape recorders that people our age remember with a little hand that goes comes out of the side and stuff. And whenever the girls across the street would want to play house, I would say, sure, so long as I could tape it. It's very innocent back then. We're 6. And I would like make these little like audio dramas and stuff. Very vivid memories of misspelling the word house. And my OCD, I guess, dates to back then. So I had to go back and retape over the word house to say house because that's how he spelled it. As I burp said it, because that's what my father and I, that was our love language. My father and I used to burp say the alphabet to each other.
You know what? That is a talent unto itself, and I so admire both your dad and you.
It's a bonding moment.
Pretty cool.
That same tape recorder, I remember taping the movie Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Off of the television, because you could videotaping.
I did the same thing, yeah.
And I would hold it up and listen to it over and over again, remember the lines and try to deliver them and like try to get the inflections of Venkman and Stans. But my aha moment, to make a long story longer, would be in the mid 90s. Cause I mean, been inspired by all these great, voice actors growing up, but it was always sort of like, do I want to do this? Like I went to film school. I didn't go to school for voice acting. I acted in plays and did improv and stuff. But, my aha moment, visiting my parents during college, standing in the bathroom, looking into the mirror and just thinking about there was a show called Beast Wars.
Oh yeah. I watched it.
I was obsessed with. I mean, I'm a big Transformer fan.
I figured you were. I think I read some of your bio indicated that you're a lifelong fan of Transformers. So, did you watch the original 84 series growing up?
Oh yes, I watched it. I made my own fan characters before they were called fan characters, and that was my handle on the internet through the 90s. In fact, back in the MIRC days and stuff, I used to go by Rat Trap. Which is
one of the
crazy. Yeah, because later on in the Netflix series, they ended up casting me as Rat Trap. So now when I use these things online, people are like, oh, that's because of no. That has been since the 90s.
That's pretty cool. Now on the Netflix series, did you work with Peter Cullen or was that somebody else doing Prime?
In the Netflix series, no. It was Jake from the Cyberverse show. But I did work with Peter Cullen as Starscream. I was Starscream. He was obviously not Starscream. He was Optimus Prime. There was another TV show, or three different ones called Combiner. Well, no, he wasn't on Combiner Wars. He was on Titan's Return and Power of the Primes.
So
they're all called like the Prime Wars trilogy. So you can imagine, like when Peter Cullen says Starscream, and he's talking about me, like there's tears.
It's pretty impressive. We got to work with him. He was out in LA and I was doing a Hasbro gig. I do a lot of the Transformer electronic toy voices for Hasbro. So
it's so cool.
I've done Starscream, Optimus Prime, Megatron, Bumblebee, a bunch of them. But we had a gig where we were recording Peter Cullen from Dave and Dave out in LA. And he went through it was really cool. He was a great guy. He ran through about a 2-hour session, never took a break, never missed a line. I didn't really have to, I wasn't going to try and direct him. So
no, he would occasionally ask us, hey, what do you guys think? I mean, you want another take? I'm like, you're Peter Cullen. I cannot tell you anything.
You're Prime. And I wanted to do my Prime for him because that's one of the major things that I've done for Hasbro is the voice of Optimus Prime. But I thought if I do it, is he going to be like, you're taking money from my children's mouth? I thought, maybe I better not do it.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah.
Oh, man. I have a similar story. I used to do an event hosting. I had like 1,000 jobs all kind of connected. And the last two BotCons, I was the MC. And the second to last, it was like, I think the first convention that he ever actually like went on stage and stuff. But Frank Welker.
Oh, yeah.
I got to interview Frank Welker. This was, before I was officially a part of the franchise. I'd done like one little thing in the past. It was like a prequel to Beast Wars, but I had nothing like, it was way before Starscream. So he comes out on stage, the kindest human being you'll ever meet in the pantheon of all the gods that are in this thing. And he, I made a little joke. I'm like, there's a 7-year-old version of me doing backflips on my inside right now, right? And, he's putting me at ease, I'm putting him at ease, and, playing it up a little bit for the crowd, but I'm seriously like, just
starstruck.
So he turns to me and goes, "Are you an Autobot or a Decepticon?" And the crowd goes wild. And I turned back to him and I'm like, "Almighty Megatron, you will always be my leader." And a Decepticon, he comes back. And like, from that point on, it was just like old friends. We're just talking. We're just hanging out.
So cool.
And like, cause, I'm a little nervous too, because, you do these things, but that's like somebody One of the earliest voices that I tried to make, it actually wasn't like Megatron or Fred or anything. He did the voice of the Boogeyman in the real Ghostbusters.
Okay.
If you remember that show. Because he was Ray and a bunch of other characters, but there was this terrifying, it's like a horror prequel to Monsters Incorporated. There was this giant guy, he looked like an Elvis head that would come out of doors at night and take children.
Oh, wow.
Into this crazy other world. And he did that double voice that he,
like a Dr. Claw type thing?
No, not the Dr. Claw, but that thing where he's like, he has two different things at the same time that there's probably a proper name for, then I have no idea. So that was one of the things that I remember listening to as a kid and be like, that is the coolest sounding thing I have to figure out. Like, and I would do that, never did anything with it, until getting back to that aha moment, making the realization, standing there, just to put a button on that, Scott McNeil played 107 different characters in that show. And I remember thinking that, and suddenly it started registering in my head, like this beautiful mind thing, pictures of Mel Blanc and all of these amazing human beings that are behind all my favorite characters, because I never grew up. And I'm like, that's what I want to do.
Great.
That was my aha moment. Mm-hmm. And from that point forward, I used to run tech. I was in bands. I ushered at the St. James in Manhattan. I did a bunch of different things, but always in the back of my mind, it's like, no, this is what I want to do. Eventually, I'm going to pair off all the other things and just kind of
great
see if that rocket ship launches.
Where'd you record your very first character voice demo? Did you do it yourself, or did you go to a studio? Or
my first character demo. And it was terrible. It was 4.5 minutes long.
Yeah, that's a tad long today.
It was rough. I think I sang like Satchmo in the middle of it. I don't know what I was doing.
I do a Satchmo too. That's cool.
It was nuts. But yeah, so I had taken a class at the New School downtown. While I was working as a paralegal, and I was in an improv troupe that was based on Star Trek and doing 1,000 different other things.
Oh, I'm a huge Trek fan.
Oh, me too, man.
What's your favorite Trek series? I gotta know. You like the original series? You like Next Gen? You like Voyager, Deep Space?
I love DS9. And when I'm watching DS9, that's my favorite. And then when I'm watching Next Gen, that's my favorite. Yeah. It's terrible. If you look up above my desk, which you can't see right now, there's a bunch of Eagle Moss ships. I got props over there. Like,
great.
Yeah, this is
you can't see them, but I've got a couple of different Enterprise models up on the shelf here, and a full set of 7 pint glasses from all the original characters. That's awesome. But yeah, nerdy
that's
stuff.
Great.
Oh gosh, I will say I have a soft spot for Enterprise. I think Enterprise is very underrated.
Oh, with Scott Bakula.
Yeah, season 3 and 4 of Enterprise.
It got pretty good at that point, but then it got canceled. And have you watched Strange New Worlds yet?
I have not. Just because I haven't had the time, but we just got the Surface to watch specifically. That and Lower Decks I heard was amazing. The one of the new ones that I watched was Prodigy, and that is amazing. Because I have some friends. Brooke Chalmers is the director in there, the voice director. So I wanted to watch it, and it's just so wonderful and optimistic, and like, what a great gateway into the universe. And of course, I mean, hearing Janeway, arguably the best actual captain on paper, but, I can just talk about Star Trek for about an hour.
Yeah,
we had the same conversation with, Kay Bess, because she was the voice on,
she's a computer voice of the ship on Picard.
Oh,
so,
right.
Yeah, Picard, if you watch it, every time the computer talks, it's her, and we had her do a close as the computer, and it was so cool. We were both like, Bee!
We definitely went down the Trek rabbit hole with her, and we said the same thing. We should just do
Talking
Trek with K-Bass. Let's just do it.
Done. If I could be a fly on the wall, hide behind those guitars behind you. And just,
he's got a ton of them. Let's get back to your career. You moved out to L.A. in... What year was it? 2016?
2017. 2017, yeah.
How long did it take you to find representation and then find a gig and all that good stuff?
Oh, gosh. I mean, I was very blessed that I managed to get representation a few months in with CESD. And, like, It's weird. Not to get too schmaltzy here, but just the kindest human beings you'll ever meet. Like, and that is, I think, one of the best things about this career in general is that they're, I think more than, I can't speak to it too much, but more than other areas in this weird town that we're in, voiceovers, you just find the kindest people in representation.
I have found the same to be true. Yeah. Most of the voice actors that I've talked to or interviewed are all really wonderful people. They're very humble and they're very talented. And you really have to pry to get the cool stuff out of them because they don't want to be too showy. They're just kind of regular folks doing what they do.
Seems like a niche community, just kind of everybody has a camaraderie because of what you do,
Yeah, very much. There's very much like we're all in the trenches together. We're singing Christmas carols come time. It's I guess it is that time now, right?
It is, yeah. You moved out there 2017. You get representation. And when do you get your first gig?
I started doing a couple of anime dubs when I first came out here.
Okay.
Through Bang Zoom. Another everybody at Bang Zoom. I mean, just like the nicest human beings. And it doesn't feel like you should be able to pay the rent this way because everybody is just sort of hanging out with friends. Some who've become very dear friends,
Did you have connections prior to moving out there? Did you have some sort of connections to the West Coast before moving out there, or you just go out cold? And
I had. I'd already been in Transformers, so I was flying back and forth. The long personal story is I actually tried moving out here in 2014. In 2014 is how humans say that. In 2014. And about a month before I was set to go, I met a girl in New York and I lasted 3 months out here, went back to be with the girl in New York. And also it's New York. It's where I'm from. And a couple years later, she's the one kicking me in the butt saying, you keep flying back and forth to work. Let's just move out there. And now she's in the other room playing with a bunch of cats. And I'm talking to you here.
All right. So, how many cats do you have? I have to know.
So we don't have cats.
What?
We are cat sitting right now.
Oh,
for
okay.
my buddy Alex, another voice actor who is out of town. And every time he leaves, because our cat passed away last year.
Oh,
and the two of us have thank you. The two of us have that kind of but we need the babies to sit on our heads at night and kind of thing. So whenever they come over, the two of us just turn into puddles. They're adorable. But those are our nieces, Miso and Bean. They're in the other room. I know people listening to this want to hear about voice acting. I'm just going to talk about cats and Star Trek.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
That's what we're here for, talking Trek and talking about cats. I personally have 8 cats that I live with, so there you go.
Don't judge.
The crazy cat
man. Want to be there.
But anyhow,
we'll bring yell at each other for the rest of this.
Yeah, we could do that too. Let's get back to your career here as a voice actor. I know you've done a couple of characters. I don't know. I'm not familiar with Draluk. Is that correct?
Oh, yes. Draluk the vampire. It's this really awesome anime.
Draluk the vampire. From the vampire dies in no time.
And when I got the audition, they basically listed every bad version of Bela Lugosi's
Dracula voice.
Including Count Von Count and everything. So I kind of made this weird voice. And between us and millions of people listening, added a little bit of Balky Bartokomous kind of thing from Perfect Strangers.
Yeah.
Kind of made a big stew of it because it's about a vampire hunter and a vampire sharing a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment and the wackiness that ensues. So it's basically a sitcom.
It's kind of a comedy for sure then.
Yeah. And it's right up my alley. Yeah.
Perfect.
So pretty fun. Yeah.
Now your Dracula voice or your vampire voice sounds a tad like Count Chocula.
Absolutely. He was one of the
voices
that they gave us. Absolutely.
We interviewed Larry Kenny, who was the voice of
Lionel.
A great guy. He's such a cool dude.
What a great guy.
Yeah, and he did Count Chocula for many, many years. Very fun. Okay, and you, of course, did Starscream on a couple of different Transformers series, so that's pretty cool. Why don't you give us a little Starscream? Is yours based on Chris Latta?
Well, mine is sort of another stew. There's definitely some Krislata in there for the shrill of it, but it's a bit more sinister, conversational. And now, the age of Starscream will truly... What is this? Is that me? No, I can't be dead. It is my time. My spark can't leave now. No!
The original direction. So the in different shows, it changes because originally it was Eric Calderon and F.J. DeSanto. They were kind of figuring out what they wanted. Eric calls me on the phone while I was in a supermarket in Metropolitan Boulevard in the middle of Forest Hills, Queens. I left there, went into the back next to the dumpster, and he's like, we don't know what we want. Have you ever seen Game of Thrones? I said, okay, yeah, I've seen Game of Thrones. Do you know Varys?
I love him. The bald dude.
And, yeah. So originally
I'm hearing it now. Yeah, I'm hearing the little bit.
Yeah. So that one was over here. It was a little lower, but he would be very floral in the way that he speaks.
But then I would add some of the little screamisms.
That Chris Latta had that screamy, raspy. I mean, his Cobra Commander and Starscream are indistinguishable, but they're great. And every time I hear Starscream, I'm always looking to see, are they doing a Chris Latta or is it their own kind of own version of it, adding their own little sort of, what they think is going to work for the character.
I got to do a Cobra Commander once too.
Yeah, I read that on your thing. I love Cobra Commander.
Yeah,
he's a little bit different. He's down here and very picky and choosy as to which S's that he decides to hit very hard.
He's but yeah, totally. They went to the same college or something, or from the same neighborhood in New Jersey.
Very good. I think Peter Cullen, was also a part of, I don't know if he did G.I. Joe stuff. He might have done a couple of characters on G.I. Joe. Definitely Prime from Transformers way back in the day. But a lot of the same voice actors would do stuff. It was Sunbow Productions did the animation back then. And a lot of the same guys you'll see. And I think Wally Burr was a voice director on both those, if I'm not mistaken. So kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think Rainbow Bright too, and Gem, and there was the same cast when you look down. And gosh, some of those, I've gotten to meet a bunch of them. I've gotten to work with some of them.
That's really cool.
And gosh, I'll tell you two fun stories if you like.
Yeah, bring it.
Nice. Greg Berger, Saint of a Man, Greg Berger.
Now he was
Grimlock.
Yeah, he's Grimlock because I had to do the Grimlock toy, but I did it for the movie version of it where they didn't want it to be that comical voice. So it was more serious and scary, but it was a lot of fun. But yeah, tell us about Greg Berger.
Well, my favorite role of his, I love Grimlock, but there was a sadly short-lived animated series based on the Men in Black franchise, and he was Agent K in that.
Oh yeah.
And gosh, the animation, I don't know who did it, but it had that kind of eerie Aeon Flux sort of
almost anime-ish.
Monsters. Yeah. Really cool. But anyway, so like I said, I'm a Transformers fan from back then. And I was at one of the BotCons, one of the Transformers conventions in the early 2000s, right? Very early 2000s. And I met him. And I had just put together that 4.5-minute demo that I was talking about, right? So I walked over. He was a guest. I'm like, oh, excuse me, Mr. Berger. Would it be okay if I gave you this thing, please? And he just looked at me and says,
you gave me your demo?
I want it. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
And he looks at me and says, no.
Wow.
Not unless I can give you mine. And he and his wife went back up to his hotel room to go get a copy of his demo and come downstairs and find this weird little wet behind the ears kid that I was. I had a ponytail back then. This is only a lockdown COVID ponytail, but this little kid, and he gave me his demo. And that meant so much to me that he took the time to do this. And we talked for a little bit. And I've had that thing since then now, over 20 years now. It's one of the few things like that came across country with me. I still have it to this day. And I remember that kindness. And to the point that like later on, I was interviewing him once for a convention. And I told him this story and big hug, and, you know, it's very sweet. Cut to Power of the Primes. I'm recording my lines for Starscream, but I was also Sludge, one of the Dinobots, the Brontosaurus, because Brontosauruses are real again. And I texted him, like, dude, this is full circle, whatever. And we had this really nice little interchange. And we're at the same agency now. We're both at CSD, just the nicest dude. One other story that I will say, Michael McConaughey. He was Trax and Cosmos, and then he was in Transformers and a bunch of other, like everybody, every show he was in at that time and today. And it was another one of these BotCons, and it was a different year. And we got to talking, and he gave me this amazing little nugget of advice that I have given to other people now that ask me about voice acting and performance and whatnot, and say that, you know, credit him for this and say, this is one of the things that really helped me. And also, it would be funny if I didn't say it now. After all that. He was talking about nerves because, you know, I wasn't really a voice actor yet. I was, you know, just there with a CD of silly voices. He said, if you ever get butterflies in your stomach, don't try to get rid of them. Have them fly in formation. Make them fly in formation. And it doesn't sound like super, but
it's interesting.
I don't want to like put too, you know, but anyway, that imagery, and so many other things that like in that conversation, and we kept in touch for a little bit. We emailed back and forth. That kindness was a few minutes out of his life, stuck with me so much. And I would say like those two stories and countless other stories, absolutely part of why I am here today, why I am paying the rent by screaming in a box about 10 feet that direction. So
that's great.
Yeah. And again, going back to that kindness that people show. Pardon me if I'm rambling.
No, not at all.
Well, that's good for podcast. You know, we're here to talk. So
an Italian guy from New York, I talk.
Yeah, exactly. I did have a couple of questions. Being the tech guy, do you have a home recording setup? You know, usually it comes down to microphone and interface and software.
So I had two interfaces. The one I use in the studio is the Solid State Logic 2.
Okay.
I have the Apollo, but like since I'm on PC, I have the Apollo that has the regular USB attachment, and I can never get it to talk to anything.
Oh, really? Wow.
Like, I use this is what I'm using right now because I can get it to run through Zoom. I can get it to run through like certain things, but it doesn't like Source Connect or what have you. So I have this $1,000 Cadillac that I used to play Dungeons and Dragons with my friends on the weekend. And then I've got the $250 thing with the dials that actually feel like 1970s dials. And that's what I actually use for work in the booth. So it's kind of fun.
Oh, okay.
What kind of microphone are you working with?
The mic I use in the booth, the one, I got a bunch of mics around here, but the one that I like is, it's from a company called TechZone Audio. And it is as the Stellar X2.
Okay.
Wow.
And it sounds like you say the word TechZone Audio. It sounds like Extreme Doritos, you know, like no one knows what that is. But it was another, like, I got that at the beginning of pandemic. And you know how like there's so many mics that are like, it's just like a U87.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You'll sound like Led Zeppelin if you use this. This one, that kind of combination, I found like I liked that the best for my voice.
Very good.
There's so many boutique mic companies and people making great microphones anymore. I mean, there's always the names, you know, the Neumanns and the Sennheisers and all that stuff, but there's so many great mics.
Yeah.
Are you working in a booth, or do you have like a room that's treated, or what are you doing there?
I built a booth myself inside of a walk-in closet.
Oh, wow. Look at you. You're a little bit of a carpenter too.
Oh, it's fun. I don't know. I mean, they're just toys. They're just bigger toys that you're building.
True.
The downside is like I am Hobbit sized, so it is sized for me. Like if anybody's slightly taller, they would bang their heads on something in there. But yeah, and then in there's like layers of auto-mute panels and sound blankets and acoustic foam, and
so you've got it decked out so it's nice and tight.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't sound that way, you know, because I built like there's like an antechamber. It's a Gothic cathedral, but only very small. There's like little tiny bends and whatnot
Yeah,
for the sound to kind of go around. It was honestly, it was just fun experimenting with different things, shapes.
That's one of those things that most, I get a lot of questions from voice actors that are starting, and the room is always the last thing they think about, and the interface on the mic and the software is easy, but without the room, it's all pointless,
You've got to treat the room, otherwise you get room reflection and you get all kinds of ambient crap, and not good. The majority of the animated stuff that you're doing, the series work, are you recording from home, or are you going to a studio and working with other talent?
I did a lot through pandemic. That was all remote, and like the lion's share from home. Okay. But, as things open up, like live action dubbing, I tend to go in for now. But yeah, I think it's starting to become more in person, if I remember how to speak to people, because that's another aspect of the pandemic. So yeah, for now, remote. I'm pointing as if you can see it, remote. But it's slowly getting back to go.
There's definitely a difference when you're interacting with other actors. The energy is different than like the old recordings of like G.I. Joe and the Transformers, where they would have all the guys in one room. They do the read through and then they would go ahead and record everything. That kind of energy is nice because you get to feed off it. When you're on your own, you have to kind of bring it without having anybody to kind of bounce it off of. You're just kind of doing your thing. So
yeah, that was something I was wondering too. We didn't really talk about the Cuphead show, but
let's talk about that.
I wondered about if you guys stood around in a circle and did it in real time, or if you guys did it separately, sent files in, and some lucky guy got to edit it all together.
Oh gosh, even we recorded a bunch of it before lockdown, and I think that's the True Valentino's the guy that voices Cuphead. Mm-hmm. We only recorded together once.
Wow.
It was all separate. And that's a testament to Sarah Sherman, Dave and Cosmo, and every editor involved in that, because it sounds like we're in the same room.
You had the dream again, didn't you?
It's nothing. The devil probably has a huge operation to run. He's not worried about little old me.
That's it. Let's go.
Where? It's the middle of the night.
We're dealing with this devil thing once and for all. Come on.
The timing.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
That's a challenge. The problem when you're with a group is bleed over. If one guy's kind of bleeding over onto then you can't get rid of it. So if you do it individually, it's easier. However, it creates another problem. You have to edit all that stuff together to make it sound right. Yeah. But let's talk about the Cuphead show. That is a Netflix animated series that you play Mugman on, the brother of Cuphead.
That's right.
I got to know, how'd you get the gig?
Oh gosh. Honestly, it's not a crazy complicated story. Well, the back end is, I guess. My agent, Kathy at CESD, sent me the audition, and I auditioned for a bunch of the characters, and then I got the call back, and it was amazing. And I gosh, I'll tell you a story about the callback. I had just that morning, been doing velociraptor noises the entire day. I sounded like the rapper Tone Loc by the end of that thing, and then I had my call back, and it was just like one of these things where when you want to give your all and stuff. This thing was there, and I was nervous about it. And we was driving with my fiance. So she drops me off and I go in and I did it, and they had me sing. Ain't She Sweet as Mugman. And there was just a different place in my throat that I do that voice from, and I was fine. And it was all in my head, hopefully. And then I got the call a little while later that I was the Mug.
That's awesome.
I was going to ask you where you got the voice from. I mean, did you just look at some graphics and say, here's what this guy should sound like, or you had sort of something in your back pocket?
They, two sides to that. In the audition, they mentioned Lou Costello, right? As one of the references.
Yeah.
I love Abbott and Costello. I laughed every...
Yeah,
as a kid, and Frankenstein and stuff's around, and that's where that comes from. A lot of the accent and whatnot. And this is kind of cool. for me, like on a personal level, a lot of the other voices and stuff that I did and parts of Mugman are impressions of my family members.
Really?
Oh, that's cool.
My mother's from the South Bronx and my father's from Canarsie, Brooklyn. So, and when you think of like all of those characters at the time, right? Like it wasn't even on my mind at the time. But like some of the voices that Mel Blanc did, you know, like when he was coming up with Bugs Bunny, he would talk about like Bronx and Brooklyn and taking elements from them, right? But for me, I was doing this and I was just like, you know, there's this eggplant bouncer. That's, my Uncle George. Okay. So not on the list, you know, and that was like this 6'4" ex-Marine guy is my Uncle George, who's, who worked his way into Cuphead now, right? So, you know, some of the idiosyncrasies are just kind of made up on the fly. Some of them are very me. But there's something kind of nice and sentimental about the fact that, you know, some of my grandparents and aunts and uncles are now like in this Netflix show
that
is
pretty cool.
Live on forever. And I got to kind of throw a little sentiment. I'm a sentimental guy.
So that's a good thing.
That is very cool. I noticed right away when I was watching some episodes prior to this, and I liked it. It's really cool. It's kind of Looney Tune-ish, very Looney Tune-ish to me, especially with all these sort of character New York accents, old school New York accents, just like the Looney Tunes cartoon.
The animation's actually really beautiful.
Yeah, it looks great.
And I think wasn't it based on a video game? Was it a video game first? Okay. Were you a part of the video game?
No. The video game, it had voices, but it wasn't like the two main characters didn't really, I think they're just like, whatever, right?
Okay,
right?
just sounds or something.
But the beauty of the video game, I had been following that thing for years prior to getting the audition. So I knew exactly what this was when I got the audition.
Very cool.
It's hand drawn.
I know it's super expensive to do it, but it looks terrific.
But that's, and the show, had to, in the same way that, The Mandalorian had to reinvent ways to shoot, the show, the Cuphead show had to reinvent ways to make cartoons to keep that visual, but still be actually viable to make a cartoon show, at that speed and such. But the original video game, all of that stuff is hand drawn. So when you move, somebody's drawing cell to cell, every single movement. And that blew my mind. So the actual show when it came out, I didn't realize when I first saw it that half of the things we saw in the background, that was Screen Novelties making miniatures. That's all it looks like a watercolor background that moves three-dimensional.
That's like old school Fleischer Brothers stuff with the Popeye cartoons and Superman cartoons. Very cool.
When you see Popeye walk down the hall and the hall's in the background, then it moves at that same rate, but he's moving. Sorry, I'm going off the mic because I'm waving my arms here. All the same stuff. So it's like time travel. It's amazing. Yeah.
Well, it's a really cool show. It's very funny. I watched it, and I think a kid would love it, and I think an adult would love it as well.
I saw a couple of pretty dark episodes.
There are a couple with the devil.
That was what I was thinking of with the devil.
The devil's pretty cool.
The soul-sucking carnival games. And then
how do they get the devil? That's what blew my mind. Spawn can't even use the name the devil, or Malbogia or a Marvel Comics version.
Mephisto, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the devil, and he looks hairy like the Krampus, and Luke is insanely talented. Luke, Luke Milne Drake is the voice of the devil.
Yeah.
And man, the pipes on that dude. So good. So good.
And you're coming up on your third season, or you've done the third season of the show?
Oh, we've done. That was all sort of technically the first season that were released in 3 different chunks, I believe. So, So everything is in the can already done, released. And I know they've got some amazing scripts that they did not get to do. I've made some of the people on the other side of the glass there become dear friends and have shared with me. And then also online, you can find these things. I think Deaky Deek has put a lot of other scripts that could have been. Mm-hmm. I would do this forever if I was allowed to. So
it seems like a lot of fun. It'd be a great time,
Oh Oh, yes.
The scripts are good, and the animation looks great, and
Terrific.
It's
There's so much bad animation out there now. It's as an animation fan, I mean, I love Looney Tunes, and I grew up on Warner Brothers stuff. To see full animation, you just don't really see that anymore. But I thought the Cuphead show was as close as you're going to get. It looks terrific. I thought the scripts are funny. The voice cast is terrific. You are great as Mugman, and I love the show. It's just cool.
Yeah, I'm a fan as well.
Very good. All right, we don't want to keep you too long. I don't know how long we've had you, but
it's been about 45 minutes.
Okay, is there anything you want to promote? Anything you have social media, website you want to talk about?
Sure.
Any upcoming stuff that you've got that you can talk about? Don't cross the line on any NDA, but if you have something you would like to mention.
Gosh. Well, I'll say the social media for sure. My website is franktodaro.tv. And then I'm on Twitter as Frank Todaro VO. Had to start a TikTok too, so Frank Todaro VO there as well. And Instagram is just F Todaro. And so far as things coming up. Oh gosh.
That could go either way, that F Todaro thing. Hey, F Todaro.
Yeah, well, gosh.
F that guy.
That's the curse of my name, I guess.
What are you going to do?
You said you were in bands. Are you a music guy?
Oh yeah, a bunch of terrible garage bands. Nothing current or anything like that. I was bass and frontman.
I was going to guess bass. I swear I was. I was going to say, I bet you Frank's a bass guy. I bet he was on bass.
Wes is a big guitar guy. So
yeah, obviously. I mean, I've got a room full, But
I'm a big Geddy Lee fan. So
nice. Nothing wrong with that.
Very good,
man.
Right.
That's my heart right there. It's Rush, big time.
Oh yeah, me too. We lost right before pandemic. That was my last session. I remember, you guys can cut this out. I don't know. I'll just ramble about it. I remember there was like a Rush block on the radio when I'm driving, over to Van Nuys to the studio.
Yeah.
And one of my favorites is Working Man. And they start playing that, and I'm driving on the highway. I get off the highway, I get there. And just as I'm going into the little parking spot, it's that, and I pull in just as it ends. I'm like, this is going to be a great session. Yeah. I sit down. I realize why.
Oh, yeah. It was a sad day for me, too. I really felt bad that day.
That was a rough session. I had to laugh and giggle throughout this entire thing.
Yeah, because he was such a special. I mean, to people that aren't Rush fans, it probably doesn't mean anything. But Neil Peart was such a monster talent and a special guy. Are you a prog rock guy in general, or just kind of Rush?
I also like prog rock. Yeah. I mean, I like a bunch of other things too. I was a goth kid back in the 90s. So, I mean, but I feel like there's a giant Venn diagram and prog fits in there.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Cool. All right. Well, we're going to let you go. We don't want to keep you too long. You want to give us a close as Mugman?
Sure. All right.
Hi there, everyone. This is your old pal, Mugman, and you're listening to Talking Voiceovers, because that's what we've been doing for the last 40 minutes.
Very
Excellent.
good.
Excellent. Well played, sir.
Man.
That's why you get the big bucks right there.
Awesome. One take, too. You are a pro, sir.
Boy, geez, this feels like therapy.
All right, Frank. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat with us on Talking Voiceovers. We appreciate it.
Yeah, that was great. Best of luck to you, man, really, and thanks for your time.
We'll be watching Mugman and Cuphead and the whole thing. So,
gosh, yeah, thank you so much for asking me. This is super fun. I mean, we've been friends on Facebook for I think 1 million years, but it was great. I really appreciate it.
Good.
Very good.
You enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, say hi to the wife and hi to the kitty.
Hey, and Merry Christmas,
to the kitty
by the
cat,
way.
and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Like a couple of days away here, so.
Yeah. Gosh. I hope to meet in person one day.
Yeah,
hopefully.
Be great.
Yeah. All right, my friend. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Take care.
We'll see you.
You too.
Bye-bye. Frank Todaro, what a terrific guest. I had so much fun talking to him. Very knowledgeable dude, very talented. And he was great. He spent a lot of time with us, and we had fun interviewing.
Yeah, he was someone I didn't know a whole lot about before this interview. I mean, I did watch the Cuphead show, so I'd be familiar. But the fact that he's a Rush fan, I'm all in already. So,
and just a great guy in general. And although he does not own a cat, he does like cats.
And that goes a long way.
I got to give him props.
All right, let's get out of here. Samantha, take us out, please.
Bye-bye.
I'm Samantha Fagan, and you're listening to Talkin' Voiceovers. Be sure and subscribe to Talkin' Voiceovers. Hit like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Before you book your next voiceover demo, check out primodemos.com. You'll hear the difference.
Thanks for listening to Talkin' Voiceovers with Rick Sellers and Wes McCraw. Find us on Facebook or on the web at primodemos.com.